If you want to change your financial reality, you have to start ignoring your current financial reality. So if you want to get out of debt, you have to start ignoring your debt. And once you start to ignore your current financial reality, your current money in your bank account, however much or however little there is, you will be amazed at how quickly your financial world will start to change. Ignore it and watch what happens next. First things first, you have to ignore your debt. If you are in debt, you have to ignore your current financial liabilities. If you're not in debt and you just don't have the amount of money you want in your bank account, you have to start ignoring your bank account. The reason, for example, with debt, that you have to start doing this is because debt becomes your identity. I am in debt. Or being broke becomes your identity. I am broke. And then your bank account or lack of money in it or your debt, it actually becomes a black hole that starts to suck your attention further and further into it, where you have now absorbed it as your identity. I've always been in credit card debt. I've always lived paycheck to paycheck. I've always had all of this debt. I've been able to make it work. I'm never going to be rich, but I can make this work. So it becomes a source of identity. And you will never get out of debt if you are always focused on your debt. You will never make more money than you are making right now if you are just focused on how much money or how little money you are making right now. And the paradox is, the less money that you have, the more you think about money or the lack of it. The more money you have, you actually stop thinking about money. It's ironic. Paradoxically, once you have a base level of financial freedom, and ultimately, once you have a lot of financial freedom, you don't think about money. You don't think about the price of things. You think about what you want, and you think about what excites you. You think about what gets you coming alive, what interests you, what you desire. So you have to start ignoring it, because what happens is, if you keep looking at your bank account, you keep looking at your debt, you keep looking where you are financially, your five senses, because they're just feedback loops of your environment, your five senses keep repeating the same story, which enforces the same identity, the same self-identity, and identity equals destiny. And that means that unless you change your point of attention, unless you start ignoring your current financial reality, you will reinforce the same identity, which means you will reinforce the same financial reality and create more of it in your future. So really, it's like a form of self-hypnosis. The more your attention is focused on your debt, the more you talk about your debt, the more you talk about how you're struggling financially, the more you cannot ignore your bank account, the more you actually hypnotize yourself. It's a form of hypnosis. And that's why I'm so big on actually reprogramming the subconscious and using financial success hypnosis to do that. And I created a financial success hypnosis MP3. Well over 1 million people from all over the world have used it. Every day I get these epic stories of people that get a new job, get money out of nowhere. They sell a house that was on the market forever. They've been working to get a job. They haven't been able to get one. And boom, they get hired out of nowhere. It's free to use. Just use it for 2 or 3 minutes a day. It's jakeshypnosis.com. It's pinned to the comments and in the description right there down below. It's free to use. After all these epic success stories, I could probably charge $5, $10, $15 for it, but I give it away for free. Over 1 million people, that would have easily brought me in. Even if I charged $1, it'd bring me in an extra $1 million or whatever. But I want to give it away for free. All I ask is you share your success story in the comments down below, so make sure you check that out. Now, the next thing is, what's the best that could happen? You already know what the worst that's going to happen. That's where the mind's been focused. The worst is going to happen. I'm going to stay in debt, and then I have this problem, and I have this problem, and I have this problem. You know what debt looks like already. You know what struggling financially looks like. You know what living paycheck to paycheck looks like. And if you're not in debt, you're not in financial, you're not destitute, then here's the thing. You know what an average situation is, just barely comfortable is. So then the question is, what does wealth look like? What does financial freedom look like? What is making enough money that you don't have to think about the price of everything? What does making enough money feel like, look like, to where you're no longer thinking and worrying and stressing about money all day? How I recommend that you do this, because all of this comes back to, instead of ignoring your current financial reality, you are hyper fixated on it, which becomes a form of self-hypnosis, like I said. So what I invite you to do is you want to ask yourself, what does it look like? And so the first thing that I encourage you to do is go to Google Images, find a picture of a bank account with the amount of money that you want, or take your current bank account, plug it into ChatGPT or use Photoshop or one of those things, use the AI editor and have it change the digits in your bank account. Then print it out. And when you print it out, what I invite you to do is at least once a day, just stare at it. Stare at it the same way you zone out looking at a television. You might daydream looking at a tree while you're sitting in the shade outside drinking a cup of coffee, and just practice entering those feelings. Because what you're doing here is you're now training your nervous system, and you are now training your brain, and you are now training your attention to start to focus on the best that could happen. You are now ignoring your current reality, and you are starting to bring your attention to a new reality that has not physically materialized yet. But in order for it to physically materialize, it has to first materialize in your nervous system, in your thoughts, in your brains, in your emotions, and all of this comes from your attention. So what I invite you to do is print that out. Look at it. While you're looking at it, turn on my success hypnosis and just listen to it and allow it to get you into a trance. Then once you feel like you've connected to the energy of that, close your eyes and practice mentally rehearsing it. Practice visualizing. And every time you lose your focus, just open your eyes back up, look at it again till you get that picture nice and clear, then close your eyes and do it again. And what this is doing is this is starting to train your brain. This is starting to train your brain for a new reality. Harvard Neuroscience Department did a study, and they found that a group that practiced playing the piano had the same brain activity as a group that only imagined it. So one group just imagined playing, and one group actually played. And then they hooked them up to a bunch of brain scans. They found that the group that just imagined it was activating the same motor activity. They were having the same exact brain activity as the group that played. And what did they conclude? They concluded that the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. The brain thinks that imaginary things are real too if they are practiced in terms of being visualized and mentally rehearsed, and your nervous system and your emotions get involved into it. And this is exactly what this is doing. You already know what the worst that could happen looks like. What's the best that could happen? What does wealth look like? What would it look like? And number 3 is to shift your identity. In the simplest way, your identity is your I am statements. I am in debt. I am broke. I am rich. I am this. I am that. I am Jake, right? We use I am statements to define our identity. And the most common I am statements that we have, either that we vocalize out loud or that we think within ourselves unconsciously all day long, that forms the basis of our identity. Now, we could go very deep into this, which is a topic for another video, but in the simplest way possible, what you want to do is to kickstart this process to shift your identity from I am in debt, I only make this amount of money, I've always lived paycheck to paycheck, I'm struggling here, blah, blah, blah. You want to rewrite it. And so what I did when I was a 19-year-old, I dropped out of college, I decided I wanted to become a millionaire author. I wrote down that I am a happy, spiritual millionaire author. I am a happy spiritual millionaire author. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. Then I wrote it down on an index card every day. I'd carry it around with me. And I would try to say this 1,000, 10,000 times a day. I would take out a journal and I would just write it over and over as if I was making a to-do list. And I would just write over and over, I'm a happy spiritual millionaire author, a happy spiritual millionaire author. What am I doing? I am now no longer identifying. I am forcing myself to no longer identify with, I am broke and I can't get published. I am broke and I'm struggling. I don't know if this is going to work. And I'm creating a forced pattern interrupt. And through habitual practice of this, I start to identify with that affirmation, with that new self-concept. And once that occurs, that my subconscious records that. So I start to change my subconscious identity. And when you change your subconscious financial identity, you will shift your outer financial world. So what I invite you to do is pick a simple I am statement and then write it down on a piece of paper, write it down 10 times a day. See if you can repeat it 1,000 times. Comment down below, I am wealthy. I am worthy of wealth. Pick what yours is, write it down, and you will see amazing things start to happen when you start to ignore your debt, when you start to ignore your current financial reality, when you start to ignore your current reality, your entire future will shift. So thanks for watching. This is Jake with JakeDucey.com, wishing you a beautiful day. If you haven't yet, be sure to get my free success hypnosis. It's jakeshypnosis.com. It's pinned to the comments and in the description right there down below, jakeshypnosis.com. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, bell notification, all that fun stuff. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.